Welcome to section 2. In this section we're going to be talking about estimate costs. Okay, now this is also an important process, just as important as planning the costs. So a quick overview of what the estimate cost is all about. Estimate cost is a crucial process in the project cost management knowledge area, focused on approximating the monetary resources required for project activities. This estimation is critical for developing an accurate project budget and making informed decisions about resource allocation. The goal is to provide a realistic forecast of costs based on available information and historical data. Now, by the end of this section, you should be able to understand the objectives of estimating project costs, identify the inputs, tools, and techniques, as well as the outputs of this process, and then also understand how effective estimation of costs contributes to the overall project success. Okay, so haven't seen that, let's roll. Now, what are the objectives of this process? The primary objectives of the estimate costs include: number one, resource allocation. Now, this helps you to determine the financial resources needed for project activities, including labor, materials, equipment, and overhead. Okay, so for every single project activity, you're going to have to determine the financial resources required. Budget development. And this contributes to the creation of an accurate and realistic project budget that aligns with project goals and constraints. All right, so in estimating the costs, you're going to have an accurate and realistic project budget that aligns with your project goals and constraints. Decision making support. Estimating cost helps to provide essential data for the project manager and the stakeholders to make informed decisions regarding the project's financial aspects. Okay, so as you can see, it's an important process in managing your project costs. So as you can see, this is an important process as far as managing your project costs is concerned. So what are the inputs of this process? The project management plan. So of course, this is a given. You need the project management plan to know what exactly you're supposed to be doing throughout the life cycle of the project. Now, this plan outlines the guidelines and criteria for estimating costs, providing a framework for this process. Okay, so it gives you the guidelines as well as the criteria that you need in the estimating costs. The project scope statement. Understanding the scope of work is crucial for estimating costs accurately. So you need to understand what is included in your work. Okay, what is the scope? What are the activities within the project? So that will help you know exactly what you're estimating costs for. Resource calendars. Information on resource availability and their rates. Now, this has to do with the personnel, the human resource, okay, the labor. All right, people that are going to be doing one thing or the other in this project. All right, so that's what the resource calendar is all about. Their availability and their rates. How much is allocated for each person for what labor that the person is going to be doing. All right, both skilled and unskilled labor for the project. Risk register, identifying potential risks that may impact costs. Okay, so you also need to have your risk register. Okay, this gives you an overview of all the risks that you're going to encounter in this project and how they are going to impact your costs. Okay, for example, if there's going to be scarcity, all right, there's going to be scarcity at some point in the project life cycle. Of course, that's going to impact the costs. Prices are going to go up. Okay, so that is something that needs to be included in the risk register based on your research, based on your forecasts. All right, you should have all the risk in perspective. Okay, if a particular resource or personnel is not going to be available, okay, of course, that will mean getting someone else. All right, and probably that will affect the cost one way or the other. All right, so if an equipment fails, right, and you need to get another one, that is going to impact on the costs. All right, so these are risks that should be put in perspective and should be included in the risk register. Okay, so what are the tools and techniques for this process? Expert judgment. Now, of course, you need to seek insights from experts with experience in similar projects to enhance the accuracy of cost estimates. Analogous estimating. Now, this has to do with historical data, right? Projects that have been done in the past that are similar in characteristics to the project on ground, right? Current project that you're managing. Okay, so when we talk about analogous estimating, it's not just any kind of project, but projects that are similar. Okay, so you look at how the cost was estimated, or the estimate of the cost for each activity in that other project. All right, and then you can relate it with the current project and use it as a benchmark. Okay, parametric estimating. Similar to the analogous estimating, this uses statistical relationship between historical data and other variables to calculate cost estimates. Bottom-up estimating. Estimating costs for individual project components and then aggregating them for an overall project estimate. Now, this is a very, very useful type of estimation. Okay, you go from bottom up. All right, and in estimating your cost, instead of just lumping all of them together, you actually break them down, all right, and start from the bottom, in estimating your costs upwards. So let's say, for example, you want to build a structure, all right, maybe an outlet or a unit within a building. Right, instead of just estimating the cost holistically, you start by estimating the components of that particular project work. All right, instead of just saying you're estimating the cost for the building or the structure, you could start with the little components. What is the first thing that you're supposed to do? All right, maybe research. What is that going to cost? Market research. All right, what is the market research going to cost? All right, and then analyzing the data. What is that one going to cost? All right, and then you move to putting your resources together or getting equipment and materials for that particular work. What is it going to cost? All right, so you keep estimating from the least component or the least activity, and you keep going up like that. That is what we call bottom-up estimating. So at the end of the day, you now have a total estimate of the whole work that is to be done as far as the scope of that work is concerned. Okay. So what is the output of this process? Firstly, the cost estimates. Right, so this is a document that actually contains approximate costs for various project activities or work packages, typically presented in a detailed format. Okay. Basis of estimates, BOE, a documentation that outlines the assumptions and methods used in the cost estimate. So you're not just going to just produce a cost estimate. You also need to provide the assumptions, all right, how you came about the costs of these activities or the projects, holistically. All right, so the basis of estimate is also a very important document that goes alongside the cost estimates. Project document updates. Updates to project documents such as the risk register based on new cost information. Okay. So what are the key takeaways from estimate costs? Accuracy. Of course, when it comes to estimating costs, you cannot overemphasize the need for accuracy. Right? The accuracy of cost estimates directly impacts the reliability of the project budget and the success of cost management efforts. Okay, so accuracy is key when we're talking about estimating costs. Use of historical data. Leveraging historical data and expert judgment enhances the precision of cost estimates. So you want to have historical data handy. All right, you want to have unhindered access to organizational process assets that gives you historical data, all right, from which you're going to be making judgments and making decisions regarding the current project. Continuous refinement. Cost estimates should be refined as more detailed information becomes available throughout the project life cycle. So this is important for you to continually refine the costs, okay, as new information is available to you. What we'll call elaboration, process elaboration. As the project moves on, you are elaborating, you are iterating, improving, refining and defining your activity based on new information. Documentation is key. Clear documentation of the basis of estimate ensures transparency and helps in addressing any challenges or changes in project scope. So you need to document the basis of estimates, just like I mentioned before. Base of estimate, BOE, is also an output, in this process. So that has to be available to ensure transparency, okay, throughout the project. Estimate costs is fundamental for effective cost management, providing the necessary foundation for budgeting, financial planning, and financial planning. It requires a combination of data analysis, expert input, and historical information to deliver accurate and reliable cost estimate for project activities. Okay, so that's all about the estimate costs. I hope you got a grip on that. I'll see you in the next section. Cheers.